बंद कर दो. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all at this Forum Maritime Knowledge Lecture Series being conducted by the Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity. This is the 13th event in this series, and also it coincides with the foundation day of the Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity, established by Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways at RIS, which is a 40-year-old organization at New Delhi, here at India Habitat Center itself. For today's talk or today's event on enabling ship leasing and chartering, we are indeed very grateful and thankful to the two illustrious speakers who are going to join you on the dais. Chair for this session is Shri Amit Bharat Kumar Oza. May I request you to kindly join on stage. So, Mr. Oza is a prominent director at Asrama Shipping and Trading Services Private Limited, known for his expertise in shipping, logistics, maritime economics, often speaking on topics like freight futures and ship leasing, and serving as a consultant and a very, very prominent industry figure. He is involved with organizations like IIM Mumbai and PwC as consultant, contributing to industry development in India, including the initiatives by the Gift City, Ahmedabad. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Oza. Mr. Oza, I'm indeed very thankful to you. He has had a family emergency also, and just to mention, although our prayers are with his nephew, who is currently admitted in Mumbai, and until some time back he was in coma. Thankfully he is recovering now. So we are indeed very grateful to you to have taken time out, especially at this critical moment which your family is going through. Our lead speaker for the day is Mr. Deepak Kumar Sharma, the co-founder and managing director of Bainbridge Navigation. He holds an MBA and has worked in the maritime industry for over 20 years. His experience includes senior roles in companies such as Norway Shipping, CMB Bosimar, and I'm unable to pronounce this, Daiichi Chu Kisi Kasa. Is it okay? Please on stage, please. His career reflects consistent growth, strategic insight, and deep-rooted expertise in chartering and operations. That's why he's here today. Beyond work, he's also an avid runner. You can see it from his physique and his fitness levels. And he's just come back from IIM Mumbai. He was conducting some courses there, and we saw his posts on the LinkedIn and various other. So he enjoys speaking at various shipping forums and regularly engages with industry literature and developments. Today's topic on enabling ship leasing and chartering is a very important aspect, especially with respect to India's growth story. And India is one of the largest, fastest growing economy. You are aware about it. Yet its share in global shipping ownership, chartering and leasing has historically remained very, very marginal. Despite handling over 95% of its EXIM trade by volume through sea route, India has largely depended on foreign flag vessels and foreign leasing hubs for maritime transportation. Well, last year, a very, very important enactment took place. A legislation came, which is the Merchant Shipping Act, and that marked a structural shift in India's maritime legal framework. And one of the most consequential reform under this act is the formal recognition of bareboat charter cum demise, BBCD, which is a very, very enabling mechanism to expand India's tonnage, enable ship leasing and finance, and strengthen India's strategic maritime autonomy. So, ladies and gentlemen, to dwell on this subject, we also have in the audience a large number of young aspirants, workforce. Of course, there are lots of jobs at sea, but there are onshore jobs also. And your degree or your studies are, of course, there to related to STCW and many other courses, operational courses. But it is also important to know what is on the other side so that you can expand your horizons. So learn a lot from this. So today, the talk by the lead speaker and discussions on the subject are related to the theme, as I mentioned, but it is also important to learn from them the international best practices, how to map BBCD to India's, Indian flags leasing ecosystem, and they discuss the imperatives of demand opportunities, the captive demand which we have, and also bring out some discussions on some enabling mechanisms for the opportunities for the policymakers, and also discuss a bit about the forthcoming union budget, what we expect out of it, and how these enabling mechanisms, legislations like the Merchant Shipping Act 2025 can help us to strengthen this ecosystem. So without standing in between you and the lead speaker, I would request Mr. Deepak Kumar Sharma to kindly enlighten the audience. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deepak Kumar Sharma. I am the co-founder and managing director of Bainbridge Navigation. It is so fascinating to see so much talks about, rather positive talks about shipbuilding, ship owning, Indian flags, and I am here to present my 2 cents on ship leasing and chartering activities, which is nothing but the commercial activities of the supply chain. Now, you see, we can acquire a vessel, we can build a vessel, but at the end of the day, the vessel has to generate the revenue, and that revenue would define whether the business is sustainable or not. What is commercial activity? What is ship operating? Why it is not happening in India? Why it is happening outside? And what all we can do to replicate this model on Indian shores. So I'm going to present a small presentation on this one. This is going to be the presentation flow. I'm going to give you an introduction of Bainbridge Navigation. What is ship operating and why ship operating? How does it work? The value proposition, current challenges, India versus global hubs, and the road ahead. All right. Bainbridge Navigation. We are a ship operator and we work on an asset-light business model. What is asset-light business model? We'll come on that on the second slide. We have presence in dry bulk and wet bulk. 90% of our business is dry bulk cargoes and 10% we are doing chemical tankers. Have been in business for last 9 years. 6 main offices. We have 2 offices in India, one in Noida and one in Gift City. We have an office in Singapore. We have an office in Malaysia, in Dubai, in Germany. We have a rep office in USA and Japan. 100 plus employees, 7 nationalities. At any point of time, we are operating a fleet of 65 vessels on water. Last year, we carried 30 million metric tons of cargoes across 500 voyage fixtures, across 1300 port calls. I can humbly say that we are, if not the largest, then one of the largest operator in whole Pacific Gulf and subcontinent. We have generated a revenue of $3 billion since inception. Yeah. So, what is ship operating? All right. So, ship operating is a model where we don't own any vessel. We charter the vessels from the various ship owners, and then we use these vessels to carry the cargo of our client. Now you see, a ship owner, he may not be interested in operating the cargo. He is only interested in the kind of return which he would get on his investment, which is the vessel. So we are the one who are taking the vessels with them on time charter, and again the voice charters, they may not be interested in operating the vessel. They are only interested in getting their cargoes shipped from point A to point B. So we are the one who are acting as a bridge between them. We are hedging their risk either on the cargo, on the vessels, on the paper. We'll come to that. Okay. But why ship operating? Why not a ship owner directly carry the cargo of a cargo charter, or why not a cargo charter directly take the vessel from the ship owner? That used to happen in the past, maybe 2 decades back. It used to be very simple, plain vanilla kind of thing, where there used to be a ship, there used to be a cargo, they both used to marry each other. The vessel used to reach the load port, carry the cargo, it used to sail towards the discharge port, discharge the cargo and finish. But of late, what is happening is that the ship owning is turning into an asset play game. What do we mean by asset play game? Let's take an example of a car. Let's say if I buy a car and I buy it, let's say at 10 lakh rupees, the moment I take the car out of showroom, I would not be able to sell it at 10 lakhs. The value of car will always depreciate, but the value of ship fluctuate. It depends on the demand and supply. So let's say if I'm buying a vessel at $10 million, tomorrow, depending on the demand and supply, I should be able to sell it at 11 million, 12 million, $13 million. And most of the ship owners, they are tempted to basically, get into the asset playing rather than pure operating into the vessel. And on top of that, there are various hedge funds, banks, who are getting into the ship owning and playing the asset game. You would be surprised to know JP Morgan US, today they are operating a fleet of 125 vessels. And it is one of their most profitable portfolio amongst all the verticals they have. So, okay, now ship owner has bought a vessel. Now what he would do with the vessel? They need people like us to operate the vessel. We take the vessel from them on time charter, and then we use these vessels to basically, carry the cargo of our clients. How does it work? You need to have a very good understanding of the market, because neither you have the cargo, neither you have the vessel. When you are bidding on the cargo, you are the cheapest. When you are bidding on the vessel, you have to be the highest bidder, then only you will get the vessel. And on top of that, you have to make money. So it is very important for you to have a very good market analysis. Ship operating is a business of scale. The market is so volatile that until and unless you don't play this business on scale, it is very difficult to sustain. You need to hedge your risk between the various segments of the industry. For example, at Bainbridge, what we do is that we take our positions in Pacific, which is like India and Singapore and China sort of region. We take our positions in the Middle East, and we take our positions in Atlantic also. Quite often, one area works and one area does not work, and that is how you hedge yourself, and that is how you sustain. You need to have bunker contracts. Fuel is 60% of the freight value. So until and unless you have a very good hold over this aspect of the shipping, I mean, very difficult to make money. FFA hedge, which is also called the derivatives hedge. Bainbridge is one of the very few operator who is taking positions on FFAs, through which we are hedging our long-term and short-term contracts. Again, global operations is nothing but having the scale in various part of the globe, brokers network, risk management, and of course legal retainers. Now, this is a very interesting slide. What is the value proposition by ship operating? And I'll talk in context of the Indian operations. How does ship operating can add value in Indian shipping context? Revenue retention in India, very, very important. Right now, 95% of our EXIM trade, the freight is going out of the country. Talking about the dry bulk only, last year we imported close to 275 million metric tons of coal. We exported close to 50 million metric tons of iron ore. I am not a tanker man, but I am sure that the tanker bill is certainly much exponential. This is forex. This is going out of India. What if the commercial activities is controlled from India? What if we have our own Indian flag vessels, own Indian tonnage, and the freight is not transacted in US dollars but in Indian rupees? Decision making. Decision making complements the ecosystem. In fact, I'll put my second point also, which is ship owning, FFA, bunkers, trading, and legal. You need ship operating to develop these kind of verticals. You can own the vessel, you can acquire the vessel, but you need a commercial acumen to operate the vessel. For that, you need ship operating. So, yes, one may argue that once you buy the vessel, then you can have the commercial then you can build the commercial platform. I would put it other way. If I already have a commercial platform, then it would be more easy for a private investor or a private player to see the kind of returns which this platform is giving, and then they can have confidence to get into the asset owning and place their vessels with us. Trading. Now India, our Indian entrepreneur, they are not only buying and selling on the cargo, they are trading the cargo. Other day I was negotiating a cargo where an Indian trader was buying a cargo in South America and selling it to China. This is happening from India. Now quite often we see that freight is the deal breaker in trading. Everyone knows the FOB price, everyone knows the CNF price, and it is the freight which can make a deal happen. So if the ship operating or the decision making of the ship operating is in India and the trader is sitting, so then we can basically complement the trading system also. Legal. So many shipping contracts, so many shipping disputes. We are bringing the cargo in India, our client is sitting in India, everything is in India, but in our contracts we are having English law. We are using English retainers to fight the disputes for us. It's a very, very big, underrated, unexplored vertical which has a very, very big scope in India. If the decision making, if the people who are calling the shots in India, then these things would come to India by default. And of course, not to mention the job creation and the skill development. What are our current challenges? So basically, maybe slight irrelevant of the topic, but I thought that I would have a little discussion about this thing also, so that we get a gist of what exactly we are doing on day-to-day basis and the kind of challenges which we are facing. Counterparty defaults. Of late we are seeing a lot of counterparty defaults. We are, whenever we do the contract, you take either the positions on the vessels on the cargo, but if the counterparty defaults, then it's a very big headache for us. The market is very volatile, especially with the US tariffs and all the geopolitical risk, various wars, etc. Very difficult to take positions. Earlier the volatility was in a certain bandwidth, so like the bandwidth is this, so we knew that if anything can go wrong, you can absorb that sort of risk. Now it is out of our reach. Trade routes are changing very often. Very, very recent development. New trades are emerging, new routes are emerging, and that is basically, making a that are making things difficult for us to take positions. Okay, we have discussed geopolitical tensions and tariffs. Oversupplied market. I personally think that the ship market is oversupplied. There are far too many tonnages on water vis-a-vis the kind of cargo volume we have. Weather disruptions, and of course, no more owner-based business. Again, India versus global hubs. What are the challenges? The biggest challenge is tax and regulatory gaps. Shipping is an international business, and it's not that I am only carrying Indian cargo or the coastal cargo. I am also carrying a lot of non-Indian cargoes. Rather, 60% of our volume is non-Indian cargoes. The tax and the regulatory practices here makes it very difficult to compete and bid on these kind of business. We will come to the basically road ahead. Ecosystem. We don't have a shipping ecosystem here. There is no, sometimes we have to educate our bankers what shipping is, how does it work, what are the contractual terms. So right now we are only in the educating stage. So it is very difficult for them to understand and basically, support us. Legal, there is no legal ecosystem here. Like I mentioned, all our retainers are English lawyers, all our contracts are either English law or Singapore law. That thing has to basically come to India, otherwise it will be very difficult. There is no derivatives exchange in India. All our derivatives trading is done from Singapore or London. That thing also has to come to India. And of course, insurance and underwriting. We saw how much problem it was when we wanted to ship Russian oil into India, and there were practically no insurer or underwriter to provide support to us. Asset owning mindset. So far we look at shipping more as a service industry. We are more inclined towards providing the services to the ship owner, but I think we need to have the mindset where we need to build assets and operate from India. There is a very big trust deficit. I'm a very proud Indian. I wear nationalism on my sleeves, and it pains me when sometimes when we talk to our counterparts and they have very big trust issues with doing business with Indian counterparts. There could be XYZ reason, so I don't want to delve into that, but I thought that it is important that there should be more discussion that why this is happening. There are no structured costs for legal ship chartering and underwriting. So when we wanted to start our operations from India, it was very difficult to find the competency. We had to take freshers and we had to groom them in-house for over 2 years. There are a very handful of institutes in India which are offering ship chartering modules, which are offering underwriting module, which are teaching shipping law, and until and unless you don't have this kind of support system, it would be a challenge to build more on the ship operating. Road ahead is more or less the replicate of my last slide, that our tax and regulatory frameworks has to be as per the global standards. Merchant Shipping Act, which was passed last year, the coastal bill, it is a welcome change. Of course, I mean, like, there is always feedback from the industry for more, but at least the right intent is there. And I'm sure that with time we will be able to refine it more and able to align these things as per the global standards. We have to build the maritime ecosystem. We are talking about ship owning, we are talking about bareboat time charter, yes, but we have to talk about ship finance also. We have to talk about maritime law also. We have to talk about FFAs also. We have to talk about ship underwriters and maritime insurance also. We have to promote both asset heavy and asset light models. By asset heavy, I mean the physical tonnage, and by asset light means ship operating companies like us. And lastly, invest in structured training programs. Collaborate for maritime growth in India. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deepak ji, for highlighting the importance of many of these road ahead aspects which you mentioned. And maritime capacity building is a very important aspect. Regulation and regulatory is also a very important aspect. We have Captain Poswal from DG Shipping, and there are other senior industry captains. Now they are wearing two captain hats. They were captains in the merchant marine, but they are industry captains also. So we have some Captain Kharbanda, Captain Hemant, Captain Square. So what I would request another industry veteran, our chair, Mr. Amit Uza, to bring out the solutions to the challenges which Deepak ji has brought out. So Amit ji has been giving all these solutions to the government and the various other stakeholders, and he's a very, very knowledgeable and enlightened person. So I request Mr. Uza kindly highlight. You see, we have to find the solutions. So we can't depend on somebody else to find solution. As Mr. Deepak said that he found a solution to training. He trained the workforce himself. So similarly, the other challenges of the ecosystem, etc., are bound to be solved by us only. Nobody else will do it from outside. So Mr. Uza, please. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's indeed very commendable that RIS has taken the lead for a subject which has very few people who talk about it, not because it's not important, but for various reasons. It is something which has never happened out of India, as Deepak said. And I'd like to dwell a bit about why it happened. And, we've spent, Captain Hemant, we've spent more than 30 years in this industry. And most of it is abroad. As Captain Hemant just recalled, we met in Dubai and not here. My career, as with almost everybody in commercial shipping, has mostly been outside India, especially if you're in ship operating and in commercial chartering. And there's a very good reason for this. And I think Deepak highlighted some of these reasons, so gave the heading. If I were to sort of go back a bit and actually try to analyze, as we know, today we measure everything in US dollars, right? Value of ships, any international trade, it's in US dollars, trade deficit, GDPs, everything is in US dollars. Why is that? Now, a lot of you may know the reason is because after the Second World War, there was an agreement signed between the great winning powers called the Bretton Woods Agreement, where everybody pegged their currency to the dollar, and the dollar was pegged to the value of the gold in a certain proportion. In 1971, the US decided to forego the gold benchmark and make their currency free floating. And that is when the world changed. And a lot of things in the world changed. China was quick to take on to it. We took time. We're still taking time. But principally, dollar is the main currency for global trade. And we in India, quite rightly, have a protected economy in terms of our currency. We have our own challenges. We have energy deficit. We have a large import bill in terms of energy. We have services as exports, but we still run a deficit. So we have what was earlier the FERA and now the FEMA. Now, one of the unintended consequences of transition from FERA, so FERA, as you all know, I don't know how many of you know FERA, the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. So FERA was extremely constricting. There was nothing you could do out of India. And in that era, shipping was essentially canalized. So you had Transchart, you had MMTC, you had STC. So nobody could import and export from India, right? Everything had to be done through government canalizing agencies. So if I want to buy DAP into India, I can't do it myself. I can't import. I need to go to STC. They will indent, and they would do the entire process of sourcing, chartering, and chartering was done through Transchart, which was a centralized government agency. So we have a whole set of, I think, brokers in India who only know the Transchart charter party and nothing beyond that, because they've spent about 20-25 years of their lives in the Transchart morning meetings. Yeah. So it was, of course, a very, very closed system and a very proper systems to stabilize your economy. And in 90s, it was realized there was a need to open up. So FEMA came in, and with FEMA also came in the freedom for Indian capital to actually move out. So obviously, as a direct result of that, once FEMA came in, the ODI, concept of ODI, overseas direct investment came in. And up to 400% of your net worth, you could actually remit out into foreign countries. So it was a welcome change. There was FDI, ODI, and a lot of Indian companies set up offices abroad. So there was a phase in 90s when I joined Adani's, and Adani Global came into existence, and SR Global, and Aditya Birla, Swiss Singapore. So a host of Indian companies took capital out, especially for chartering and shipping. And the reasons were many. Of course, in India, you still had many regulations in terms of remitting money, receiving money, because FEMA still continued in India in terms of, for an Indian entity, there were still a lot of restrictions. So you could potentially be away from those. Quite rightly, there were restrictions in terms of chartering, in terms of licensing, which was also one of the reasons why a lot of people went out. But this was a one-way street. Yeah, people could only go out. Capital could only go out. What about developing those services in India? And I think that is what is trying to come out now, and that's what the government is trying to address now. That obviously Indians have proved their worth abroad, right? If you look at Adani Global, if you look at maybe not SR, but if you look at the Birla Group companies, if you look at Reliance, they are global traders. There was also a realization that most of these hubs, now we talk about an ecosystem and a global hub, and we talk of Singapore as a global hub, right? Or Singapore or Dubai. Now there are 10,000 companies which are registered, about 10,000 companies which is registered in DMCC, in JLT. How many of them are actually UAE owned? How many of them are actually owned by UAE citizens? Okay, so tell me 5 companies in Singapore which are owned by local Singaporeans, right? I could count 3, PCL and IMC, and maybe PIL, but that's been taken over. Yeah, Eastern Pacific is not Singaporean owned. Yeah, so which one? Eastern Pacific, yeah? You're talking about Eastern Pacific? Sorry? East Away, okay. Is it a shipowning company? Okay, I didn't know about that, sorry. Okay, but you can count them on the fingertips. You can count them on the fingertips, the number of companies you have. But since, even after just having 3 or 4 local companies, Singapore is recognized as a global trading hub. So I think that's what was realized, that in 2007 there was a committee which was set up in Mumbai which talked of onshoring the offshore. What had gone out of India, there was a talk of how can we get that back, because Indians have obviously done very well abroad. And the driver in 2007 was twofold. One was a lot of Indian banks were setting up branches overseas to service these Indian trading houses and these Indian houses which had mushroomed all over India, all over the world. And so the idea initially for having an offshore service within India was that why don't we get these Indian banks at least to come back to India, and you have a zone where they are not, which is FEMA free operationally. So instead of operating from Dubai, so if for example, if Bank of Baroda had a very large Dubai branch and they were servicing Indian clients from Dubai in India, they could do the same thing from GIFT City. And the second sort of thought at that time was that a lot of funds were fueling their purchases in Indian stock exchange through Mauritius, again due to tax and regulatory reasons, principally the FEMA. So the thought was to have a FEMA-free zone which could actually attract these services back. And another important aspect in the Indian system is the ECB. Now you have to remember, FEMA, ECB, all these are critical, otherwise you go the Russian way. Yeah? If you let controls go, you become Russia, you fall apart. It's the end of your story, right? You go bankrupt. So no one is suggesting that FEMA or ECB are not correct, or we're not correct in implementing those. You need capital controls, especially in the stage where your economy is. But at the same time, you also want to get those services back. You want to give employment to your people. You want them to know the best practices globally. And for that, you want them to trade globally in the dollar without any restrictions. And that's how GIFT City IFSC was born as a concept. And there was a unified regulator which was set up called the IFSCA, International Financial Services Authority. And this authority subsumed the power of RBI for that zone. So that's a FEMA-free zone. Any company which registers there is not subject to FEMA, is not subject to any restrictions. And like Dubai, you have a 10-year tax holiday, so no corporate tax for 10 years. And a slew of industry specific. So the way IFSC works is they activate industries from every sector. So banking, aircraft leasing, they've even activated international universities. So a lot of students go out to study, pay dollars in fees. So they say, okay, why don't we tell the industries to come and set up here? No tax, they can charge the students in dollars. The students don't have to go all the way back there, and your knowledge is retained here. So there are 5 international universities in GIFT City, and many are coming in. International exchanges. Earlier, Indian firms had to go abroad to list in dollars, to list in non-Indian currencies. Now NSE and BSE both have opened their international exchanges in GIFT City. So you can do dollar listing, bond listings. Everything started happening from GIFT City rather than having to go to Singapore or Dubai. In 2021, the government decided to activate ship leasing, and they set up the Safal Committee report. I was one of the members of the report. We had DG Shipping, we had several other relevant stakeholders at that time who submitted the report. If you have time, please do go through the report. It's on the IFSC website. And to the credit of all the agencies involved, this was very successfully implemented. And ship leasing was officially allowed as one of the activities from IFSCA. Now we saw a very immediate impact of this in the last 2.5, 3 years since it has been implemented. We have 28 companies which have already registered, and they're increasing day by day. Some of the very large names are there. We have Bainbridge also coming in now into GIFT City, which is heartening to see. So operators and owners, they started coming in because you could marry the access to Indian market, flying the Indian flag, with the fact that you are not based abroad. So your cost structure, your access to market is all Indian, whereas your overall approach in terms of maintaining and working the company is Indian. You are Indian flagship, Indian registered company with a 10-year tax holiday. So my slides basically try to highlight as to how chartering, which Deepak mentioned, is something which is very critical for any economy to know. When you are one of the major, I don't think it's very clear, when you are a very major economy, right, you're soon transiting from the 4th to 3rd largest. Your ports are handling more than 1 billion tons of cargo. And to have the type of presence that you have, not only in ship owning, but also in chartering, which I would rank at par with owning, is something which is a concern. Which means you are leaving table on the money when you export, money on the table when you export and when you import. You're paying operators, you're paying ship owners across cycles. You're actually underemploying, underperforming your industry, your people, in terms of what they can achieve based on your strengths. And you're not really leveraging the fact that these are the type of volumes that you control. Now, if you look at, this is from IOCL's website, you can see the volumes. IOC is the 2nd largest chartering firm in the world, oil chartering firm in the world. And you can see the volumes that they're moving. Look at the coal volumes. Look at sail. I think Deepak fixes quite a lot of sail cargoes. 15 million tons annually, just of coking coal. Yeah. So there is a lot of requirement which is generated from India. Forget about the world markets. There's so much of business and volumes generated out of India, which our operators and our ship owners are not able to tap, simply because, as Deepak said, the tax and regulatory environment here is not conducive. So in some ways, it's still a lot of it is lifted by Indians and worked by Indians, but not from India. So you create a barrier, you create an artificial barrier. The Safal report lists a number of operators and owners who are not in India, but the capital is of Indian origin. Because it's Indian capital which is going out and actually setting up these infrastructures. Where was Dubai in 1995? I first stepped into Dubai in 1995 as my first job. Dubai is unrecognizable after that. When I went there were, I think, 5 ship owners, I think trade line, about 6 traders, and about 3 brokers. That was the total maritime ecosystem of Dubai. There was no ship finance, no insurance, no legal, no banking. From there, today, we have Dubai as one of the hubs competing with Singapore now on cost and regulatory and tax basis. Yeah? 10,000 companies just in DMCC. So what gave them this edge? It is the fact that they were able to free up and be aligned. They consider regulation and tax as competition. Okay, Singapore is doing it, I'll do it. Dubai is doing it, I'll do it. And that's where GIFT IFSC also positions itself. That I have the advantage of manpower, I have the advantage of cargo. So it's basically my people going on visas to Dubai and Singapore. It's my cargo that they're fixing, and more often than not, it's my ships. So essentially, somewhere in this equation, we are missing in terms of being the place of actual management, the place from where all this happens in terms of skills, in terms of banking, in terms of the ecosystem. And that's where IFSC actually comes in terms of addressing it. So why is chartering important from a strategic viewpoint? I digress from that. So if you do not have control over chartering, it is very difficult for you to do two things. It is very difficult for you to manage trade at a macroeconomic level. We all saw the blank sailings which the container ships had during the COVID time. So at times when you actually need to optimize and actually gain from global trade when prices are high, if you don't have the skills to charter, you'll be left out. So that's already happened, and that's why the government is now planning to float their own container shipping line, because even though it's difficult, they're planning to go in there. So you need to have an ecosystem which understands chartering, which not only ship owning, but chartering. And the second thing is, in spite of being the second largest oil company, in spite of SAIL being so large, in spite of MMTC being so big, we hardly do any third-party trade in terms of the PSUs, especially the oil PSUs. And this is something even IFSC have flagged to them, and hopefully once trading is enabled in IFSC, they would look at it. For the type of upstream positions which India has, because you're sourcing oil, right, from various locations, you're sourcing gas, you have so many upstream positions. Politically, you're quite well accepted with the producing countries. Why is it that you're only doing the producing countries to import to India? Why are you not able to do third-party trades? The answer again lies in this. You do not have the skills to actually act as an intermediary and profit from it. Because that involves derivatives, that involves trading, that involves shipping. Which are the skills which are now coming back again with IFSC, with people like Deepak and other operators coming in slowly and developing the ecosystem there. The banks are coming in, the traders are coming in, and that would soon develop this ecosystem at par with other global ecosystems. Yeah. So this is a quick look at coastal cargo, again in continuation of the same. Coastal cargo is also of critical importance, and we find that globally, for a country of the size of India and the coastline which India has, about 15 to 16% should move by sea, but it doesn't. It's 6 to 7%, and that's a matter of major worry, not only from environmental problem but also from the question of economics. Why is so little moving along the coast, whereas it should actually be much more? And I think that as a part of those reforms, you need to increase the available tonnage, because obviously you have the restrictions in terms of Indian flag and in terms of licensing, but you need to increase the amount of tonnage available. These are typically short duration voyages, so it's difficult for foreign owners to actually ply these routes, because unless you have a dedicated ship, it's difficult, and to have a dedicated ship, you need an Indian flagship. And again, if IFSC is properly equipped to fly Indian flagship, you will ease up that tonnage quite a lot. In fact, almost 60% of the current tonnage from IFSC lies on coastal trade. Yeah? So that's again eased up the bottleneck that you had in terms of availability, and I think even IWI and others who want to source capital globally, because as Deepak would agree with me, globally there's no problem of money. There's a lot of money out there chasing pretty average returns. So the problem is not money. So the problem is somewhere else, and the problem is the ecosystem, the regulations, and the certainty which the investors have that they can actually take this money, put it in a particular area in India, and be sure that they can take out the returns they think it would have. Something like the stock exchange. Once you opened up and you gave assurances, you have FIIs now freely investing in the stock exchange. But these are hard assets. So they need to be sure that if they invest, their capital is safe and they're able to get the returns that they projected. Yeah. Of course, licensing is something the reforms are still undergoing and the rules are still under negotiation. So I think DG and everybody is doing a very good job of reviewing it and seeing how it can be optimized. There are currently some of the issues around age restrictions, which also have this this current problem from chartering in India. It's all under discussion, but very quickly to highlight just this, since somebody from DG is here, you have this issue. You have the circular which says that an Indian vessel has to be max 20 years old. So more than 20 years old, you can't fly the Indian flag, which is fine. But it also encompasses chartering. So if Deepak has seen a very good business from say clinker or salt, which typically requires older tonnage from say Tata Chemicals exporting from West Coast India to China, and he wants to charter a vessel from India which is 22, 23 years old, he cannot without a license. Whereas if he sets up an office in Dubai, he can do the same trade sitting in Dubai without any restriction, because these restrictions are not at port level, they are at the chartering level. So some of these anomalies need to be addressed, and at all places any regulation needs to keep in mind what are you competing with. So either you keep them at port level, that nothing about 20 years enters my port, which is very difficult because then your trade collapses. So if it's not at the port level, you have to be very careful placing such restrictions at the company level or at the chartering level, because then that distorts everything, and then you again have capital flowing out. So I think this is an ongoing discussion, and it's something which is being looked at the highest level, and I think everybody is considering it before the rules come out. But in the end, I would say that it's really heartening to see all these things being discussed. In the 30 years of our career, we went through different phases in shipping, and we've spent most of our life trying to make sense of it. We've fixed several ships, we've carried a lot of cargoes out of India, and it's really a testament to organizations like RIS, the work done by DG Shipping and everybody in the government, that we now see a phase where nothing can stop India, GIFT IFSC and other ideas to actually achieve their potential. And it won't be too long before you would see the number of ships, number of companies, number of operating companies, number of traders in India, in GIFT City, exceeding that of Dubai and Singapore. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, this 20 years, many times it's LC condition also, correct? LC, this is one of the LC conditions. Yeah. That also becomes a bottleneck there.
That's why I mentioned salt and clinker. So if it's an older, it depends on the tonnage, right? At a regulatory level, you can't stop it. If you stop it, then stop it for all ships. But if I can do it from Dubai, then why am I stopped from doing it from here? Now, if it's salt, highly corrosive cargo, no vessel which is 20 years old would carry it. And the moot point is, I can do it from there, the same leg, from India, loading from India and going to China. I can do it from Dubai, but I can't do it from India. So either you say you can't do it from anywhere. No vessel can call India, which is more than 20 years, then I understand what you're saying makes sense. You're saying if you're sitting in India, you can't do it. But if you're sitting in Dubai, you can call India if you're more than 20 years. So how would that make sense, sir? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Uza and Mr. Deepak, for highlighting. Just for the audience and especially for the younger generation, I must tell you, the amount they have highlighted the issue of forex. We are, of course, the fourth largest economy, and at this juncture, as per the media reports and calculations, we are spending close to 100 billion US dollar. 100 billion is the figure for our ocean cargo freight charges. Now, this figure may not resonate very well with our younger workforce. So I must tell you that India's defense budget of all the three services, Army, Navy, Air Force, including the capital budget, including the revenue budget, and the pays and salaries and pensions, etc., is only close to 7 lakh crores, which amounts to 80 billion US dollars as of current rate. So we spend 20% more than the defense budget of our forces as ocean freight charges alone, which goes out. So your heart should pain, and you should find, you should learn. How will you, provide a solution to this? So the solution is learning. Learn more about the sector, learn more about hedging, trading, derivatives. These words you would have heard, but you have to understand the industry very well. Then only you will be able to play a role in this industry. It's a very complex industry, but it is not so complex. Indians alone are doing all this sitting abroad, So we should be catching this tide. Well, you must also study the two legislations which have come out in the last year, the Merchant Shipping Act, which has enabled the bareboat charter cum device, BBCD it is called. It was not allowed earlier. And the Coastal Shipping Act also, which enables coastal shipping. In the morning today, we had deliberations at RIS regarding enhancement of coastal shipping, and the discussions were on with respect to the road, rail and the airways, and how much of share currently the coastal shipping has and how it can be improved and why it should be improved. So Captain Poswal was there. We are thankful to you for attending the morning session also and now. So if there are any questions, with the permission of chair and the speaker, they are all here to answer you back.
Hi, my name is Rahul. My question to Deepak sir. सर, हमारे पास 11,000 किलोमीटर का लगभग कोस्टल एरिया है और हमारी जो आपने प्रेजेंटेशन दिया कि ट्रस्ट इश्यूज हैं, ये हमारी पॉलिसी इतनी स्लो क्यों है? मतलब हम फर्स्ट मूवर क्यों नहीं है? आई थिंक ऐसा लगता है कि हम लास्ट मूवर हैं.
Sir, to be honest, I don't have answer to this question why the policy was so slow now, but what I can assure you is that the kind of work what we are doing very soon, basically, we are going to see a very tremendous shift, and India is going to be counted as one of the lead maritime nation and lead maritime voices in the world.
Let's hear it for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have two questions. One goes back to your presentation about, you spoke about one of the difficulties faced is because of trade routes, changing trade routes.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, it seems like these should be historically well-established trade routes which are consistently utilized. So what are some factors which lead to changing trade routes kind of more variably in the modern day? That's one question.
Yeah.
Second question is based on the statement you just gave, that according to the work that's currently being done, India will very soon become a leading maritime nation on par with Dubai and Singapore. Typically, you look at the opportunity cost of moving from established businesses from one location to another. So what's the value proposition for those businesses historically entrenched in Dubai and Singapore moving to somewhere like India? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yes, if the trade routes are established, then for companies like us, Bainbridge, it is very easy to take positions, because you know that this is the trade which is going to happen in so and so season, and that is how basically I'm going to place my vessel, and that is how I'm going to take the positions. But because of various reasons, I mean, like maybe because of the geopolitical thing, because of the various economic tariff wars or whatsoever, if trade routes disrupts, for example, over all these, for last 2 to 3 decades, China has been buying soybeans from US. Now because of the tariff thing, last year China decided that okay, I am not going to buy a single metric ton of soybean from US, and rather I am going to shift all my requirements towards Argentina. That's fine, but for a companies like us, it makes the whole thing very challenging, because all our positions, either on the cargoes or on the derivatives or on the tonnages, they are basically the historical patterns. So that these are the, and it's not like one-off cases. The world is evolving, the disputes are rising, and these things are happening very often. And until and unless we are able to visualize what is going to happen, we are able to take positions accordingly, it puts us at a very, very big risk, because one bad move can basically wipe the whole year's profit. So yes, it's a very big challenge, and I think I did not understand your second question.
Why should people shift from the? Why are you thinking of India, gift city? While you are
Because-
well established in Dubai and Singapore, what reason?
Because I want to be nearer to the cargo. I want to be nearer to the person who is shipping the cargo and who is making the decisions. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. So. Yes. Yes. Very difficult for me to maintain a relationship with sale if I'm sitting in Dubai vis-a-vis if I'm sitting in Gift City or Noida or in Kolkata.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashwin from Ernst here, this side. So my question was that has there been any benefit of the cabotage relaxation on the coastal cargo? And second question was, so you said there's a lack of trust in having maybe deep draft or vessels with high DWT. So wanted to know, even if there are definite cargo movements from the west coast to east coast or within the east coast itself with respect to coal, POL or maybe steel or some other categories, type of cargoes. Why don't we have large number of deep draft vessels in Indian flag? So these are the two questions.
You want to answer it? Why don't we have large deep draft vessels under Indian flag? So you see, if you look at the port developments, all these ports have been developed only in last decades. I mean, like you look at Gangavaram, you look at Dhamra, you look at Kandla, all these, we have recently, we have recently got these deep draft berths and all. So I think it is a matter of time that before we see both government and private investor who also start basically investing in deep draft vessels, and we see more and more Indian vessels under, more and more vessels under Indian flag. And what was the second question?
More on containers, right? You're talking about the restrictions were eased on containers only. Right. And I think fertilizers वगैरह में जो हुआ था ना, DG का एक circular था,
Yeah.
which was easing the restriction, but not on iron ore.
No, not on iron core. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I can just answer more from container point of view because the restriction was eased more for containers than for dry bulk.
Yeah.
And basically it said that if you were to, if the transshipment of containers was happening between any two Indian ports for transshipment for exempt trade, there was a relaxation. So that has definitely helped, because what was earlier happening is, suppose I have a lot of exempt cargoes, a lot of containers sitting in say Tuticorin, and I want to ship it to Europe, right? Earlier I could not move it from Tuticorin to JNPT and then move it on to Europe, because there were restrictions in terms of having an Indian flag to do that. So quite rightly DG relaxed that and said, if you are transshipping between two Indian ports for an exempt trade, either empties or exempt trade, then they gave a relaxation that cabotage is not applicable. And I think it has done well in easing the congestions on the Indian ports. So yeah, I think it has had a positive impact. I think that's a short-term solution. Eventually you should have enough Indian vessels to compete with other foreign flag ships and to take over at least your in-house cargo or internal country cargo before going global. But it has helped the trade.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shotriaji and the distinguished panel. Very important subject on maritime. The geopolitical scenario is moving to global south. India is the only country which has an ocean named after it. Over the years, nothing was done. We have been shipbuilders for centuries. We are only glorifying our ancient past, whether it's a mandir or otherwise. Now I'm here trying to fight out 2000 years of Indo-Korea relations of the Indian princess from Ayodhya marrying the king of South Korea. They had to build a ship just to fulfill. He was a Raja. So on similar lines, this research institute and the Center for Maritime, why can't, with so many distinguished audience here and the whole country and the youth, this panel to really not be only on paper and have an event, but what to look forward, to make a paper in such a way that you have the youth from different parts of India to learn about training, skilling. It cannot be one-man show. Sachin Tendulkar hitting century cannot win India's match. It has to be teamwork. Allow us to join such a organization where we ask the grassroots people to really come forward, undergo real training. Whether it is shipping ministry, Modi ji is spending thousands and thousands. Right now he has gone, instead of celebrating here in the north, he has gone and celebrated in Assam. So you have to know the ASEAN nations, the importance of it in the present geopolitical system. Please, I request the panel and the Center for Maritime to make a paper how you want the youth. You know all the problems. So how do we find the solution right away? Yeah. No wastage of time. Past is past. Now we have to know the whole shipping. It is going through Asia Pacific and South China Sea. All the trading, India can sift it money. We are talking of dollars. My correspondence got hacked because I got an article published to say free the rupee. We are like slaves even after 75 years, that we cannot do anything without having a dollar. All the Indians who are abroad doing training, because their parents had the money to send them, but they cannot be more talented than our grassroots village people. Please, let them do reverse investment. Come back and do the training over here. Give them the same
very
salary.
Important point.
They have the money.
I
request you to take this forward, in the skilling of youth and getting them into the shipbuilding on different aspects of trade and commerce, whether it's container, whether India flagship, whatever.
Yeah. So very important point. I must tell you, and it is at the right moment. We not only as a center, but otherwise the Ministry of Port Shipping and Waterways and the Maritime Amritkal Vision itself has enabling targets for maritime capacity building. All of us have studied, graduation, undergraduation, post-graduation, and even higher studies, and you hardly found any maritime subjects of either electives of or core subjects in your studies, except for, of course, the STCW. For seafarers, we have close to 175 plus training institutes, but now you can see the large audience here and the young folks. The idea is to sensitize them to the other aspects which you brought out, and you will be very happy to know, I'm sure, and you must come for that ceremony also. Center for Maritime Economy is signing an MOU with Delhi University, which has multiple colleges, 30 plus colleges under the university for maritime capacity building, and we will curate the curriculum for these core and elective subjects, whether it is in BCom or BBA or any other at grassroots level, so that they understand the maritime. We have been sea blind, unfortunately, and that is why the reason for that has been culturally or otherwise, primarily because of our disposition with our neighbors and so on and so forth. But from look away, who was talking about look away, we are looking east also, and look east is the policy, Indian policy, and from Sagar we have moved on to Mahasagar. So there is a great amount of momentum, and as Mr. Deepak mentioned, we are going to be a maritime nation, and we need passionate people like you to raise the voice. Thank you.
Sir, I have a doubt. Good evening, gentlemen. Sir, जैसे कि SCI Shipping Corporation of India is a big shipping company. Sir, right now इतने सारे कैडेट्स जो है वो ईयरली ये करियर को ऑप्ट करते हैं, वो शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया को क्यों ऑप्ट नहीं करते हैं, सेकेंडरी ऑप्शन क्यों रखते हैं रादर दैन ऑप्टिंग SCI, अदर कंट्रीज के जो ओनरशिप कंपनीज होती है उनको ऑप्ट करती है. वाई शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया इज नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग सच एन अपॉर्चुनिटी दैट अदर कंट्रीज शिपिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड. ओके,
एंड इफ शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया अगर इतनी ज़्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटी प्रोवाइड करेगी देन जितने भी यूथ है वो कंट्री के लिए सर्व करेंगे, कंट्री में इतना ऑप्ट करेंगे वो रादर देन ऑप्टिंग अदर शिपिंग कंपनीज ओनरशिप।
फ्लीट साइज है शिपिंग कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया का, वो छोटा है, स्मॉल।
सर
So,
डीजी शिपिंग क्या कर रही है
हाँ,
सर इसको
so-
डेवलप करने के लिए?
So there are lots of schemes which are getting rolled out. You would have heard Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister announced the Bharat Container Shipping Line, and Shipping Corporation of India is going to join hands with the big players and also come out with this Bharat Container Shipping Line, which is going to increase the number of ships which we have. Besides that, Mr. Uza, you wanted to say something here?
Just had a point. In shipping, we have a saying that it's very easy to become an owner, but it's very difficult to keep being an owner. The skill set required, the contracts, the ability to commercially operate would evolve over a period of time for the reasons I said. So it's very easy for the, you think it's difficult for the government to buy a few ships and augment the fleet, but you need to have those contracts like what the others have, control over the upstream, to really deploy those ships. So as Deepak said, that gap over a period of time, it has developed for various historical reasons. That will go away. And you would maintain the lead for the size of manpower, for the size of market you have. So I would say the last 20, 30 years, 40 years have been an anomaly, and it has to go away over a very short period of time.
Sir, I just took a...
नहीं क्यों, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ कि जो पहले आप जब 47 से अगर आप जर्नी शुरू करें, so if you even look at American history, for a number of years they were a closed economy because you're sorting your internal things out. 70s में dollar globalize हुआ, 80s में China opened up, you opened up in the 90s to a partial way where you moved to FEMA and you brought in a number of other reforms, and now you are continuing those reforms to its finality. So as the speed of these reforms increase and accelerate, which they're doing, you will find the gaps disappearing.
Yeah, may I just two short questions to both the speakers. My name is Jagannathan. I'm a faculty in School of International Studies from JNU. Let me compliment both the speakers for it's very insightful for us. I've been hearing about maritime security in this hall for long, but for the first time we are hearing about the nuances of shipping and shipping operating. My question is to you first, Deepak Kumar. You mentioned about the trust deficit. That's become one of the challenges in ship operating. You also sort of hinted that there is some personal experience we could able to see that when you were mentioning that. Could you please elaborate that where you exactly mean the trust deficit and how you think that it should be addressed? Second, sir, it's a very excellent presentation and more informative as well for us, strategic, student of strategic studies. You mentioned about the IFSCA in the gift city. So I would like to know how this enabled the ship operating in the country. I mean, the last 10 years, ever since this been come into existence, that gift city with IFSCA free, a FEMA free zone. So how many shipping companies, Indian shipping companies have registered in terms of data or any rivers like operating from Singapore or Dubai have relocated to gift city? So I would like to know about from these 2 points. Thank you.
Yeah, so you have asked about trust deficit and about my personal experiences. Last year in May, I was in Japan. I was at Imabari, one of the most prominent shipyard. And Bain Beach, it is not an Indian name, it's a Western name. So basically I got an appointment with one of the biggest ship builder there. And unfortunately, he had a very bad experience with some of our peers in the past. And shipping, one thing what I've learned about shipping is honor, shipping is relationship, shipping is world. And one bad fish can take us one generation down. So of course, the good side is that your benchmark is so low that you have to just get one chance to show that how different you are. But the problem is that the perception is very important, that is how you are perceived throughout. And that is something we are fighting day in and day out on Bainbridge. How we are addressing is that be very loud about the work we do, whether on social media, whether you are a speaker on the conferences or whatever means you have. Be very loud, be very vocal, be very assertive, and I'm sure that it would be addressed with the time. But yes, trust deficit is a real problem which we face day-to-day basis.
So very quickly, I'll just add to what Deepak said. He's very right about one example. Also, it's accumulation of the years of what we spoke about. Because if you have an exporter, right, and he finds it difficult to find somebody who knows lay time or damage or some of the technical things in shipping, as we mentioned, then he's bound to make some mistakes or not understand concepts, and that sort of magnifies into anything emanating from here being undependable. So it also has to go hand in hand with the amount of activity that you do and the amount of skilling that you do within your system, which is what Dr. Shishir also has been talking about in terms of upskilling it right from a grassroots level, which makes a difference. But coming back to IFSCA, so just to make it clear, IFSCA as a concept started off in 2007. The authorities, the act was passed only in 2019. So authorities started working only in 2020, and then COVID came in. The Safal report was published in end of 2021. And since then, I think there's a website which updates all this. I think there are 27 entities, 18 Indian flagships, and I think 24 leased vessels. So it's pretty much, the target officially with the ministry is that they're planning, officially they're saying 300 ships in one of the press reports. But I think by 2030 we should have at least 100 ships there. Safal, Ship Acquisition, Financing and Leasing, SAFAL.
Wonderful. Last question by Captain Poswal.
My question to, thank you sir, Mr. Oja and Deepak both jointly. While you are deciding the chartering of the ship from point A to point B,
yeah,
are you considering these factors, that incidental things, if something happens like Vanai and recently this MSC
accidents.
Yeah.
Accidents.
Yeah.
So for to hire, to call this PNI club.
Yes. Yes.
We do not have the good PNI clubs in India.
Yes, that's right.
And
Yeah.
most of our ports are not capable to handle the contingencies out at sea.
Yeah.
What are you doing for that?
No, sir, we have PNI club, of course not Indian club. We have basically
We do not have the specialized search and rescue agency also in India.
Yes. So we pay very hefty premium. The insurance cost, like I mentioned, we have legal retainers, we have huge PNI this thing, but yeah, we are considering these kind of things.
My humble suggestion is that we should do something about it, that we do not have the salvage companies also in India.
Yes, sir.
Most of the salvors are coming from the Holland or from Singapore.
Sir,
in the cases the salvors are coming from the Singapore, then finally from the Holland.
It is a very big opportunity in India, sir. I mean, like if some entrepreneur want to pursue a career in this thing, I think it is certainly going to work, sir. Yes, but I agree with you. We don't.
It's for the younger generation to also hear him out. He mentioned about survey, so it's a very big opportunity. You must go technical and understand the complete opportunity in a big way. Yeah.
Very right, as Deepak said, and as you said, so it's a big opportunity. The problem with all these opportunities, be it P&I, be it salvage, is that even though India has scale, unless you think of offering something globally, it doesn't make commercial sense.
Yes.
So if I set up something salvage only for India or only with India focus, then my costs are such that an international solver can always do it better. See, if you look at P&I, why do they exist mostly only in UK? And maybe Norway, and the Japanese P&I for what it's worth. Because the type of tonnage they have historically, globally, gives them a scale which is very difficult for an individual P&I to match. Similarly, if I'm a solver, or if I'm doing any business today, which is a service industry for the maritime sector, it's very difficult to do it even regionally. So unless I have some equity backing and I set up something like Deepak has 100 people working for him just for the amount, the work that he does regionally. So unless you have developed scale and size, which is able to handle those sort of services globally, you won't be competitive in terms of offering your services. So the challenge is, how does an entrepreneur raise the money, create platforms, scale it up, and compete with others globally? So if I think only, okay, I'm going to set up a salving company for west coast of India, I will never be able to compete somebody who's doing it globally, because he has the economies of scale. Same with dredging. You know, why is it that if you look at Boscalis...
But don't you think that we need a good salvage company in India?
Absolutely we need, but I think eventually you can do it even at a loss to start with your base cargoes and eventually go to global. So that has to be eventually in mind, that to make it profitable, it cannot be regional or local, unfortunately. It has to eventually be a global company competing globally. Like JDN, or if you try to compete in the dredging sector, there are only 4 European companies which are ruling the entire global dredging industry. If you want to compete, I cannot just look at India or a regional sector. I need to have a global business plan where I may run some losses along the way, but eventually I will be global and I'll be able to compete on the basis of my competency. The challenge is scale. The challenge is scale and size. Then your costs automatically go up and your price.
As we develop in shipping sector.
Absolutely. That would come up. Absolutely.
Shipping and skilling go hand in hand. And all those people who are asking this question, why did we not do this? Why are we here? They should take an analogy from sports. Why are we not having so many Olympic gold medals? Why are sportsmen? So it is a matter of the ecosystem is one. Your passion is there, of course, but then you have to learn and compete at the global level. And so why are we so good in cricket and not in other sports? So you have to take some analogy, and collective unison, going together, is the only answer. So my appeal to all of you is that rather than asking, you must ask that why this did not happen, but you must also find an answer that how I can contribute in the growth story, and how I can be a contributor to this deficit, whether it is trust deficit or any other deficit, skill deficit. The last question, the last of the last question.
Sir, I would not like to ask a question, but I would like to thank all the panel for what you have expressed, and especially the younger generation which is sitting here. They are all wanting to get something from here. But wanting something is one thing, but to be able to contribute, as you rightly said, it is one subject which is very, very deep, and all of us youngsters basically have to dwell deep into it and to find out what have we discussed today. These two gentlemen who are sitting here, they are highly experienced. They have put in, I think, one of the best presentations to give us in a field for which we are not getting approvals. When you say salvers, we don't have approvals out here to be the salvers. You see, most of the survey companies which are coming, they're coming from overseas in India to operate because we don't have PNIs to approve us. The PNIs approve them, but they don't approve our companies. So the young generation has to learn from here that rather than asking questions, we should sit down and we should start reading more and more about it, go deeper into it, and see what these two gentlemen have talked about it. And I think only then we can make a workforce. Because it's not about personalities, it is about number of persons who will get involved. It's a big, big force we need here. We cannot do this just on presentations. We need a lot of people with interest coming here and say that I want to do this. If I don't get a job in SCI, it doesn't matter. But if you can do something in this, go deeper into it, you might be able to contribute much better. So I think it's a very, very deep subject, what you have touched today. And it's great. Thank you.
I'll just take 30 seconds. For all the young friends, there is one advice. Thing is, you must read. And you must understand what all changes have happened. See, by the time the policies are framed, it is passed and then comes to the ground root, there's a passage of time. But if you read, you'll come to know what all changes are taking place. You cannot have a ship, or you cannot have a surveyor, or you cannot have a port management guy, unless you have a shipyard who will build a ship for you. You have to have people to place an order on you. So there are so many things which comes into play, and lot of things are happening. And sir, for your information, Ministry of Skill Development and Enterprise has pumped in lot of effort for training and skilling of people at all the stages. Be it your port operator, be it your bunker handler, be it your surveyor, at various stages. You name it and they have done it. Whatever you can imagine with respect to maritime sector, that has been taken care for capacity building. And I will just add on, I am one of the members, technical members for framing of rules for coastal shipping and Indian Ports Act. There are so much changes which is there. The license regime has been done away with it. But all these things you have to, go through the. Sir, it has happened on the ground.
Yeah, so.
Sir, it has happened on ground. That is what I am saying.
So you are. All of you are right. Yeah. So may I now request that to the audience, see, the best event is when people are, passionate about contributing. So all of you have contributed with your expression, with your passion, and with your effort, and especially the younger generation. Be curious, as everyone's telling you. Keep learning, as everyone's telling you. But be united. In all this crosstalk, have the crosstalk, but be united. The united effort will take us a long way. In a very, very traditional way, let us thank the two speakers. Now, may I now request, in a traditional way, to felicitate and thank the speakers. From India to the Gulf side, and as you would have seen, Indian naval sailing vessel has just sailed from Porbandar to Muscat, but this is Oman. But this is another vessel which we have. So, a lot of inspiration in our maritime heritage also. We had everything. One photograph with the younger audience also. And